Chapter 31, The Inferno Crisis. Merek stood at the computer watching the gateway open, eagerly awaiting Sem and Ally's return. He covered his eyes and heard them all step into the room over the Ark. The Ark's shining aura swiftly faded as Sem and Ally removed their helmets.
Oh, thank God. You guys are back.
Merek sighed in relief.
I was beginning to fear the worst had happened.
We were too for a minute there,
said Ally, placing the helmet back on top of the locker.
Hi, name's Zane,
said Zane, approaching Merek and shaking his hand enthusiastically.
Hi,
replied Merek, sounding unprepared for such a friendly greeting.
Nice workshop.
Zane meet Merek, Merek meet Zane,
Sem said, placing his backpack back in his locker, still torn by his brief encounter with Erland.
Zane's the...
Traveler? Yeah. Sam's already explained the whole story to me. Though when he talked about returning to a halfway world, I expected a Wonderland sort of place. Definitely wasn't expecting a basement.
Otto back yet?
Asked Sem.
No, I haven't heard anything.
Merek replied, looking at Zane with a curious expression. Sem looked over at Ally as he removed his armor. She placed the armor back in Arya's locker and stared back at him with a bad feeling in her stomach.
You think we should go look for him?
Sem unclipped his armored chest piece and placed it back in the locker. Sem pondered, trying to uncover any clue as to where Otto might have gone.
Merek, can you take Zane to the boarding house and get him settled in?
Asked Sem, closing his locker.
Sure. What are you guys going to do?
I think we need to find Otto and make sure he's all right. I'll call Leo and see if he knows anything.
He stopped by before I left. He said that...
Ally's words were silenced by the sound of the front door opening and slamming shut upstairs, followed by footsteps rushing down the stairs. Everyone looked over, expecting to see Otto. It was Leo. Leo stopped on the stairs, his suit and tie in disarray.
You and Otto are needed at the square again,
he said, panting heavily. The urgency in his voice was unlike any other Sem had ever heard.
Otto's still missing. Why? What's wrong?
They've gone over the edge.
Who?
Everyone! Another minor protest was supposed to happen this evening, but it spiraled out of control. They're aiming to come march down here right now and drag you and Otto out onto the streets. Something's got them fired up. The whole district is in an uproar.
Sounds like Raz is doing. Merek, take Zane to the boarding house. Ally and I are gonna find out what's going on. My only hope is we find Otto before they find him first.
Sem hurried over to the stairs past Leo. Leo turned around and chased after him as Ally followed with Dublin trailing at her heels.
No, Dublin, stay here,
said Ally, turning and ordering him to stop. Dublin sat obediently at the base of the stairs and watched her hurry away with a whimper. Zane and Merek both stood quietly in the basement, listening to the front door slam closed upstairs. Zane waited for a moment before breaking the silence.
So, are things always this crazy?
Sem and Ally heard the chants of the crowd ahead as they ran with Leo. The crowd's cries carried through the streets, more violent and synchronized than before.
What's got them all worked up?
Shouted Ally as she ran.
Something about you guys keeping secrets from them.
What secrets? We haven't been hiding anything.
Shouted Sem mid-stride.
That's what you need to tell them. They wouldn't believe me as much as I tried.
May want to rethink your career choice, Leo.
Sem slowed as he ran past the florist shop at the corner. The rioters had wreaked havoc in the district, leaving behind a wake of destruction. Ally stared at the ruined shops and cars, feeling as though she had never left London. Ducking behind a parked car, Sem, Ally, and Leo stopped and peered down the street ahead of them through the rear window of the car. Ahead of them was a large group of people, setting the district ablaze.
Jesus, it's pandemonium,
said Sem, watching the crowd unleash their anger upon the world around them.
This isn't a protest, this is anarchy. What did you say to them, Leo?
I didn't say anything. They were all just chanting together in the square when I left.
Said Leo, ducking down lower. Sem took a deep breath and moved out from behind the parked car. He walked out into the street, prepared to confront the crowd without fear.
Sem, no!
Whispered Ally, trying to grab his hand to stop him. Sem walked slowly toward the rioters with his hands raised at his sides. The rioters reformed into a group near the square and watched him approach, standing their ground. They all scowled at him, holding their brutal instruments of war. People emerged from the side streets ahead and joined the head of the crowd at the square. Sem approached cautiously, watching an army now gather before him. By the time he had reached City Square, he stood less than a block away from a mass of more than 400 people, all stationed around the block like a pack of wolves, ready to strike. Ally and Leo walked out from behind the parked car, seeing the crowd stop for a moment to listen to Sem. They raised their hands at their sides and joined Sem.
Here he comes, our savior himself,
shouted a familiar voice. The same man with a black mustache from before pushed through the crowd to the front. He pointed at Sem and stood at the front of the crowd, speaking on behalf of everyone around him. Ally was stunned. Everyone in the district had turned against Sem. Even the kind watchmaker from before, Dennis.
You've been lying to us. Our families are dealing with the pain of our disappearance as we cling to the hope that you can send us home. You've known how to send us home this whole time.
I never lied to you.
The crowd muttered and scolded. Scanning the crowd, Ally watched each of the rioters' faces, hoping Sem's words would finally reach them. They all stood firm.
I've given you all I can give. I know you seek the comfort of your homes, and we work tirelessly to find a way for you all. But finding that way home is a journey we must all take together. We cannot do this alone. I'm not a hero. I'm no one's savior. I'm just a man doing what he knows is right. Just one man who can't hold the weight of all those worlds. All your lives. On his own shoulders. Work with me to send you all home to your friends and families. Life here isn't forever. This place is only a stop on a great journey we're all taking together.
The weight of Sem's words gently began to pierce the crowd. Ally could see some of the rioters' rage beginning to dissipate. At the front of the group, Ally watched the man with a black mustache from the bridge incident. Even he seemed to be considering Sem's words. Sem paused and took a deep breath before continuing.
Erland and Arya died for you all. They held the burden of a world of innocent people who were unaware that their lives were in danger on their very shoulders. They risked their own lives for you all, so you could all live. If adding my life to that will help ease your pain, then so be it.
The crowd remained silent. Ally smiled, sensing they had given up their crusade. Sem lowered his hands from over his head. He could see their anger subsiding. He stood by, feeling he had all but soothed the raging Inferno. A single applause came from the back of the crowd. Sem could hear the slow, strung-out claps bouncing off the quiet street around him.
Way to go, kid. I am impressed,
said a haunting voice from the back. The crowd parted, making a path for the familiar voice. Sem shuddered. Ally gasped, breathless, unable to believe her eyes. Standing in the back of the group, with a large smile on his face, continuing to clap his hands, stood Otto.
You've exceeded my expectations with that heartfelt speech this time. I think they all started to believe you for a minute there,
said Otto, lowering his hands. Otto moved to the front of the crowd, shaking his head side to side.
Shit. Even I almost believed you. But they don't know you like I do. Under that caring, kind, and heroic mask you wear, you only look after yourself when it really counts. You and I both know the only person you'd ever put before you was Arya.
Sem was speechless, bewitched, feeling utterly betrayed by Otto's words and piercing voice.
Why don't you tell them all the real truth?
Said Otto, looking at Sem with his cold, hate-filled stare.
What truth?
Questioned Sem.
The truth that you've kept from us all. The truth you've chosen to forget. You've known the way home this whole time. You just kept it a secret from everyone.
Ally looked at Sem confused, hoping Otto's words were untrue. Doubt and fear began to cloud her mind.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sem replied. Otto reached behind him and pulled out the leather journal he had, hiding under his shirt tucked in the waist of his pants. He waved it at Sem, clearly knowing he would recognize it.
Whoa, where did you find that?
Asked Sem, shocked to see the brown book in Otto's hand. Otto opened the journal to a page he had marked with a slip of paper and cleared his throat.
Through all my endeavors and failures, successes and mistakes, at least I can bestow the greatest gift upon Sem and Arya that a father and a teacher can offer. A way home.
Said Otto, reading the journal aloud.
Where did you get that? I thought Erland had it with him when he disappeared.
I found it on the floor of the library, mixed in with all the other books you two so cherished. Erland left it by chance the day he died. I stumbled across it the day Ally arrived. I decided to hold on to it and read it before telling you. I've been trying to unravel our old friend's words for weeks now. Yet the one clear thing he mentions is that he gave you the equation to send us all home. I've tried to fish it out of you nicely, but you just kept pretending you didn't know. So I decided to share what I had discovered with everyone.
Ally looked at Sem, feeling betrayed. She wanted to hear the truth from Sem for herself. Had he really known the way home this whole time and chosen not to share it with anyone?
So, what is it, kid? What's the equation to get everyone home? We're all dying to know.
Said Otto, closing the journal and throwing it down on the street at Sem's feet. Sem bent down and picked it up. He opened the journal and pored over the pages, unsure what to make of it. Erland never told him the details of his work, nor did he ever mention that he had discovered a way to send everyone home. He looked back to see the look of betrayal on Ally's face.
I don't know,
said Sem, looking through the journal.
He never said anything to me or Arya.
Then why don't you go ask him, kid? You said it yourself. You saw him. Or at least you think you did. If he's out there, I'm sure he has all the answers. Though I'm pretty sure you're just using him as an excuse. Or perhaps he's just a way for your mind to cope with your loss and grief.
Sem looked down at the ground, beginning to question his own mind. Had he really known the equation this whole time and chosen to forget it out of spite? Had he really seen Erland in each world? Or was it just his own mind playing tricks on him? Thinking back on his past, Sem could remember all the guilt he carried after Erland and Arya died. Had it now taken over? Looking up at Otto, staring directly into his anger-filled eyes, Sem knew his own mind. He had let go of all his guilt the moment he kissed Ally in the streets of London. He had released his grief clouding his past. And yet, even after that moment, he again saw Erland in the flesh. He'd felt Erland's hug before he left and heard his words of wisdom spoken into his ear. He wasn't lying. He knew his own heart.
No, you're wrong,
said Sem, standing tall as he looked at the crowd.
I know what I saw, and I let go of my guilt. I never knew the way home then, and I don't know it now.
Ally could see the sincerity in Sem's eyes. She could hear the truth in his words. Seeing the true savior he was inside, she felt sorry for ever having doubted him. Otto glared at him, enraged by his own obsession to return to his wife and daughters.
You brought this on yourself then, kid. Take him.
The crowd shouted in anger and charged, fueled by Otto's words. Ally and Leo jumped back, ready to run. Sem stood his ground, ready to face his own destiny. A wave of shouts erupted behind them. A wave of shielded, armored soldiers flowed around Sem like a rock in a river. Sem and Ally watched as a group of soldiers marched headlong toward the crowd and forged a man-made barricade between Sem and the army of angry travelers. Sem looked back in surprise to see Roz running up to him from behind.
Looks like we made it just in time,
said Roz in his usual stern voice as he approached Sem.
Raz, what are you doing?
Asked Sem.
More importantly, why?
Asked Leo.
When the council heard there was another protest, I could not have cared less about saving your pathetic behind. But when one of my guys said that they heard it was Otto who was behind it, I ordered my men to get down here as quick as we could.
Sem, Ally, and Leo watched as the rioters hammered against the wall of armed soldiers, trying their best to break through.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but thanks, Raz.
I may not like you, but I hate Otto even more. I have no tolerance for a man who betrays his friends and country.
Sem shook Roz's hand with a rough grip and smiled.
You can thank me later. Without you, we'd all be lost out there. You're a brave and honorable young man. We all need you. Both of you.
Roz turned to include Ally.
But don't get the idea that I've let go of my desires to take over the Guardian Project. You're sloppy and make a mess of things, but at least you get the job done.
Roz gave him a half smile, half frown as they both released from their handshake.
Now what?
Asked Ally, watching the soldiers try and push the crowd back with their riot shields.
You and Raz stay here and try to keep them busy. Whatever you do, keep them away from the Ark. Leo, call Merek and tell him to meet us back at the house.
Ordered Sem. Sem walked over to Ally. He held her hands for a moment before kissing her. Ally pulled his face in close, wishing to never let go. Sem took a step back and held her hand.
What are you going to do?
Asked Ally.
I'll be back.
Sem let go of her hands. Ally's heart ached as she watched Sem and Leo hurry away down the street, leaving her as his protector against the rising tide.